So that's my question. When they do that to you, and I know you have a lot of followers here, and that's wonderful. I'm a human. I'm following you because I'm human, and I really feel that you need to tone it down a little bit if you want to become president of the United States. That's all. And maybe as a teacher, you don't know how I am as a teacher because you don't see me on the news, and I'm this nutty teacher. But I am getting evaluated, and I am highly effective, just so you know. But, no, but really. Just, I would love to see more of this Chris-Christie that I saw today than I'm seeing
listen,
on the news. And
sure.
I hope I'm not offending you.
Do I look offended? Believe me,
Take this away from me before.
He's coming up behind you. Now, he doesn't work for me. First off, let me say this. I appreciate your comments. I really do. And thank you. And I can tell that. And so, there are always going to be differences of opinion on people's style, right? And how you approach things. One of the things that I'm sure your students probably said or meant to say in that list, as well as honest. And the fact is that for me, everything that I've ever said in my public life is not something that I would necessarily say again. I think there's probably almost every person in this audience who has had interaction in their lives with other human beings would say there have been times when they wish they would have said something different, right? Now, the difference, as you well pointed out, is that many of my interactions happen with 10, 12 TV cameras around. And what happens in a lot of people's lives, but not everybody's lives, is that there are some people who just believe that if you're a public figure, that they're allowed to be rude, that they can say or do anything to you, and because you're a public figure, you have to respond politely, because that's the rules as they see it. I don't see it that way. See, and what I would say to your kids in your classroom, and I've said to other kids who, whether they're coming through tours of the State House and they'll ask me about things that are kind of like the topic you brought up, or gone to classrooms where that's happened, is that when I think that I've said something that's over the line, I'll apologize for that. I'm not out here to be perfect, and nobody is. But the one thing people never have to wonder about me is what I'm thinking, right? Now, there's a lot of political speak that goes on in this business where they sit and think about one of two things. Either, what's the blandest, most vanilla thing I can possibly say that will not offend anybody, or that they won't understand? Or two, they look in your eyes and they say, I wonder what she wants to hear. And when you've been doing this as long as I've been doing it, you get pretty good at it. Right? You look and say, what does she really want to hear? And let me tell her that, and then, even if I don't mean it, hopefully she'll forget that I said it when I do something that's the complete opposite. But at least it gets me through the moment, right? I'm just not like that, right? So there's any number of times in my life where I go by what my mother taught me. And my mother used to say to me all the time, Christopher, be yourself, because then tomorrow you don't have to try to remember who you pretended to be yesterday. Now, with any human being, that's going to mean there's good moments and not so good moments. And so what I would say to you is that when I try to reach the balance, and believe me, right? You said like I have a lot of followers here, but I've probably had, from the questions I've taken so far, an even amount of people who agree and who disagree, right, today. And I've tried to follow rule number 4, which is like if you respectfully disagree or criticize or whatever, I try to respectfully disagree back. But in public life sometimes, people will just, as you said in part of your comment, will just try to push your button. I can tell you that in my public life, I have not had my button pushed 100 times more than it's actually they've gotten through and pushed it. And the reasons that that happens are like a lot of different reasons, right? So, like sometimes I just want to do it, right? Like sometimes I just say something, I say, the hell with this, man, I'm doing it, right? And I know it's going to wind up in the news. I know I get criticized for it. And I know when I get home, Mary Pat's going to look at me and go, why did you do that today? Right? But the second piece of it is sometimes you're just having a bad day, right? But when you put all of it together, what I would say to, as you call it, the broader universe, the American people, if I decide to do that, is this. I think we've had too much, and this is not Republican or Democrat, it's both. I think we've had too much of people in public life pretending to be something. And so, with me, you're going to get what you see. Some days, that's going to make you going, no, not today, Chris, thank you very much. And other days, you're going to say, you know what, I'm glad he said that, because it needed to be said, and it should have been said a long time ago.